She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have you found yourself in a situation where you and your spouse are just not quite come together with the debt conversation? You guys striving against each other? Hey, listen, healthy conflict is important for great intimacy to be created in a marriage. I'm going to say that again because I know that you just went, wait, what? Healthy conflict is really important to have great intimacy in a marriage. But when conflict goes to contention, that's when it's not healthy. Contention. You are contending against each other instead of for each other. And even striving against each other instead of for each other. Well, today on the Dani Johnson Show, we're going to tackle some marriage issues, especially when it comes to marriage and money. So, are you in that situation where your spouse and you are not on the same page when it comes to debt? I get this question so often. Dani, how do I get my husband or my wife, fill in the blank, whatever one that you have, to come on board? Like, how can I get them to wake up and realize that we need to pay off our debt? How do we get them to make it a priority? Okay, well, first of all, let's break this down and make it real plain. If you are contending against each other concerning the debt, well, it means that money and debt is a higher priority over the marriage. That's what it means. You cannot allow money and debt to be the thing that is an overriding conversation of your marriage. Your marriage is a higher priority than money and debt. So your job is to protect the marriage, not to discredit the marriage by allowing those kinds of contended conversations about money and debt and the fact that you guys are not on the same page. So if you think and are judging your spouse that they need to wake up and realize that they need to come to the table and declare war on debt, I'm sorry, friend, you're the one that is completely out of line. You have allowed something that you do not agree on you've allowed the fact that you don't agree on something to allow you to treat them disrespectfully, to treat them with dishonor. Dishonor and disrespect is never going to result in your spouse saying, hey, yeah, let's go ahead and pay off our debt in the next 5 to 7 years. No, that's not how that's going to work. That's kind of like your kid, right? Who comes to you and says, kind of like Erica, who came to Hans and I and said, hey, can I go camping with my girlfriend this weekend? She came to me and she asked that question. I made a terrible mistake. And I said to her, yeah, sure, that sounds great. So she goes and she gets herself packed. She then a few hours later comes downstairs. She's got her little duffel bag and her backpack all packed up and ready to go. And her father says, where are you going? I'm going camping with so-and-so. He says, oh, no, you're not. You need to go back upstairs. And I right away was like, ugh, right? I was not happy with him that he would say that. Like, what? You don't trust my decision making? Like, don't be a controlling dictator like my dad was. The fact was, is I was completely judging my husband based on my childhood with the man that raised me. And I was assuming that that's how he was being with his daughter. So then I began to dig a little deeper, and it come to find out, man, he checkmated me big time. And he says, Dani, he says, my job and my mandate from heaven is that I'm supposed to be the protector of my daughter. I have no idea if her friend's father sees it the same way. I have no idea if he's going to allow them to go bike riding around the lake. I have no idea if he's actually going to watch over their tent. I have no idea if he might let over some other little boys into their tent. He says, I have no idea what that man's thoughts are being a father and a protector over his daughter. So until I get to know who that man is and whether or not he would protect in that fashion, my daughter's not going anywhere. And right away, I have to tell you that I saw from his perspective. And the fact that he was wanting to protect her because my dad didn't. My stepfather, who raised me, who I thought was my dad, didn't protect me. In fact, I was violated, verbally abused, physically abused, even sexually abused by this man. So I did not at all see Hans to be the protector. I saw him to be the violator. And in this case, it was the violator of my decision, the violator of her fun. If anyone should have been watching out for her protection, should have been me, because I had been so badly abused. So going back to you and your spouse fighting about getting out of debt, or you judging your spouse, saying, well, they need to come to the table, they need to wake up and realize that they need to declare war on debt. No, you need to realize that disrespect and dishonor is not going to result in the goal being accomplished. So fortunately, my daughter had much better maturity at 12 years old than I did. And what was that? When she got that answer from her father, she went upstairs with honor and respect and said, yes, Dad. She went upstairs. She waited for the conversation to happen. She came back downstairs. And when Hans explained to her the reason for his decision, she looked at him, wrapped her arms around her daddy, and she said, thank you, Dad, for watching out for me and protecting me. What did this show? It showed that she had the maturity to handle going at some point, just not this weekend. What it showed me is I didn't have the maturity, and I needed better understanding of my spouse and what really was going on in that circumstance. So let me ask you this. Have you spent some time? Don't answer yes quickly, because then you're showing yourself to be a fool. Have you spent some time really getting inside and understanding their heart and their mind concerning it? Do you know how they feel about it? Have you asked questions? Not questions so you can manipulate to get the answer you want? Here's what I do know. It's impossible for two to come together and agree on anything if judgment, disrespect, and dishonor is involved. If there is, however, one who is leaning in their ear to gain understanding, to understand the spouse's perspective, and be able to communicate from a non-judgmental, honorable, respectful position, then the two can come together and make some decisions. Not only that, maybe it is that your eyes have been opened about the debt because it's your job to step up and start attacking it. And as you do, there's going to be results. Once there are results, I promise you, now the other will come to the table when they see how simple it is and how committed you actually are to this war on debt. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this. Have you ever wondered if your investments are making enough money for retirement? What if you could buy an investment rental property for as little as $35,000 that rents for at least $550 a month? After Aaron and Drew Hudson asked themselves this question, Hudson Real Estate Investments was formed, and now 200 transactions have been conducted. Their system helps individuals buy and hold real estate. Their definition of a great buy and hold is a property that pays you a monthly positive cash flow from day one. Hudson Real Estate Investments has a team who find properties available for immediate purchase, vet tenants, and have qualified property management in place. So if you're looking to have freedom and live your life on your own terms, grab your phone and text the word future to 484848. Get started today. Text the word future to 484848. Secure your future now.
Did you know you can take the Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you. And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Are you a driven career man whose focus is your career, your business, and providing for your family? That's exactly where this gentleman found himself, and he writes, I'm a driven career man, How do I create a schedule that honors my wife and helps support her while also accomplishing my career goals? First of all, the fact that you're even asking this question shows that there's honor involved in your relationship. And my hat, if I was wearing one, is off to you. Proud of you for even asking that question. At the same time, the fact that you're showing that kind of humility, I know that you'll have the humility to handle this answer. Number one, why are you driving so hard and so fast for that career? What is driving you? Is it money that's driving you? Are you running from something or running towards something? I really love the fact that you asked the question, how can you still honor your wife and yet still accomplish your goals? You see, it sounds like you're of that personality that is like super driven, challenge oriented, super focused, gotta get things done fast. Like, for example, if inside your company there's a project that needs to be done and the project requires you to do the project at the top of the mountain, you run before you ever look or ask what kind of supplies that you might be needing. You run before you even find out which mountain is the one that you're supposed to go to the top with. You're just already out the door. If that is your personality, we understand exactly where it is that you're coming from. And sometimes it can be very frustrating if you have to slow down and grab a couple of details. Well, your wife is a very important detail, no question. And the fact is if you want her behind you 100%, all that she needs to know is that she is your highest human priority. What does that require? That requires quality time with her. Not always quantity time, because you probably drive her crazy and she probably drives you crazy from time to time. But the fact is that it's important for both of you to have something to work on that is your own. But it's when that thing becomes a higher priority in your heart and in your mind and in your soul, when that becomes a higher priority and it is always on your mind and you're thinking about it constantly, this is when the wife feels like she's the other woman. Well, let's just say this, that the business is the other woman. I can tell you from my perspective, I wanted to throw a gallon of water on top of my husband's computer. I wanted to pick that MacBook wench and toss her into the pool. So many times when Hans and I were learning how to be married people who didn't strive and contend with each other. I know what it feels like to feel like I'm being cheated on by an inanimate object. I know what it feels like to ask the question again and again, to have it rise up in my heart. Is there something wrong with me? Am I not captivating enough that I can even have 5 minutes of his time where he's not on the phone or thinking about something else or just always having business on his mind? And you can see it. See, I want you to ask this question of your wife, that when she looks into your eyes, does she have your full attention? Because sometimes that's all she needs. Or does she see the list of 25 things that didn't get done today that need to get done tonight? Can she see that something else has risen up and is your number one focus other than her? It's an important question to ask her, because if she is your number one human priority, then that career is going to be in its perfect slot. And when it's in its perfect slot, guess what? This is when it is easy. This is when it builds bigger. This is when it flourishes like crazy. I can tell you from personal experience, friend. There was a time and season of my life in my very early days where I was like, I ate, I slept, I drank, everything business. My whole focus was that, even though I had a couple of kids and I had a husband, but man, 24/7, this brain was thinking about nothing but business, and it about destroyed my marriage. And when I look back and think about how quick I was willing to give it all up, that would have been the biggest mistake of my life. Hans is my absolute most favorite person on earth today. My kids are next to him in that. My most favorite thing to do is to be with them. Whereas 25 years ago, all I cared about was money. All I cared about was business. And it almost destroyed my life, almost took my life, literally. I became suicidal in it. And that drive was killing me and killing my family. And so how do you go from there to here? My priorities had to shift. I was running from being a mom. And I was running from the failure in a marriage. And I just figured that if I could just make a lot of money and I could be successful in business, well, then it wouldn't matter all those other things. But really, at the end of the day, there was this gnawing inside of me that the greatest challenge of all challenges was to succeed in marriage. The greatest challenge of all challenges was to be the parents that I didn't have. The greatest challenge of all challenges that was far bigger than money, far more important than a career, far more important than a business reputation, was the legacy that I would be leaving behind. Would I create workaholics and children who neglected their families? Or would I raise a family that loved family and cared about things that were much more important than a career and money? Well, I'm happy to say that so far, we got 5 kids who care about family, that care about each other and work hard to work that commitment out with each other. And so, friend, I just want you to evaluate. What are you running from or what are you running to? Is your career in the right position? Because when I totally changed my hours and I made my family my number one focus, I dropped my hours from 100 hours a week down to 20 and tripled my income. It is from that point on that we made millions and millions of dollars. The easiest money we've ever made is when our priorities have been in line. The hardest money you will ever earn is when your priorities are out of whack. So I challenge you right now. Think about it. Ask yourself those questions. Reevaluate. Adjust those priorities. And as you do that, guess what? This is when favor falls straight out of heaven on your life, and you will close the easiest deals. You will have the greatest fun within the confines of healthy time, because the real healthy time is happening with the family. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this. Do you have a closet full of clothes yet say, I have nothing to wear? Are you a mom doing her best but desperately lacking me time? Or maybe your schedule has you dressing practically instead of powerfully. What if I told you there's a system, a blueprint that can save you time, money, and turn every head in the room, as well as impact the world through fashion? Friend, you're in the fashion business whether you like it or not. You're an ambassador representing your faith, your marriage, family, and business. Style is just a skill made easy with 123 Style Me. 10 steps to style success that will expand your leadership, save you hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars. This program will bring you peace of mind, reignite your marriage, make you more productive, respected, and instantly boost your confidence, equipping you to be bold and beautiful. Go to courses.lindapage.com. Again, that is courses.lindapage.com and make a priceless investment in yourself.
Prior to getting to Dani Johnson's First Steps to Success, my husband and I were completely broke. We just filed bankruptcy. We lost our home to foreclosure and we were on food stamps. After the second day of her event, we figured out where all our money was going. We got ourselves out of debt in 3 months. We paid off $18,000 worth of debt and are completely debt-free. And now we've finally created a life of our dreams. We've made a 6-figure business and we're just doing everything that we want. So if you're thinking about coming to First Steps to Success, you've got to make it happen. Sign up right now and make sure you don't miss it.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was hopelessly lost in addiction. My relationships with people, coworkers, family, friends failed. I was struggling under the bondage of debt, and I had no clear vision or purpose for my life. After taking my first steps to success, I've been able to pay off $7,000 in debt in about 4.5 months. I have a clear vision and purpose for my life. I can honestly say that my addictions are a thing of the past. If you're interested in changing your life in whatever way, in whatever area, you need to log into DaniJohnson.com and you need to be at the next First Steps to Success.
Prior to coming to First Steps, I was miserable. I never talked to people because I thought I was shy, I thought I was boring, and I thought that I was destined to be alone forever. After coming to First Steps to Success, I broke through all of those lies. I built confidence, and I used the skills that I've learned there to get myself an amazing job where I will be put quickly into a position of leadership. So if you're ready to find out who you are, why you are the way you are, and how to get new skills to dramatically change your life, you need to join me at the very next First Steps to Success. No excuses, no delays, get registered now.
Hi, my name is Paul. I'm from Massachusetts, and before plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was buried under a sea of self-doubt, fear, and my communication skills were non-existent. Sales non-existent as well, but after attending First Steps to Success, my sales have quadrupled, my fear has been lifted, and my relationships are better than ever because I communicate better than ever. If you want your life to turn around, all your dreams start coming to fruition, you are going to be at First Steps to Success.
Prior to plugging in to Dani Johnson, my husband and I were drowning in a sea of debt. I had broken relationships all around me of the ones that I cared most about, and I had started a company that was losing more money than it was making. And after plugging into Dani Johnson, we have paid off $196,000 in 13 months. My company has grown 90%, and I have relationships that I could never have even imagined with the ones I care most about around me. So I don't know about you, maybe you're making all the money you need to. Maybe you're doing great. Maybe your relationships are phenomenal. But if they're not, I encourage you to get to the next First Steps to Success.
What multimillionaire do you know that volunteers their time to help ordinary people like you and me? There's only one. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Are you married to a businessman or businesswoman? Have you, by chance, made the mistake of discouraging them, discouraging the main breadwinner of the family? And have you ever experienced the exhilaration of seeing your spouse, who is that business person who is just making things happen? We had a question that I thought was important for us to answer. And it was this: as a business owner's wife, what is the best way I can encourage and build up my husband? First of all, what an amazingly humble woman to ask that question. That's not a question a lot of people ask. I think I didn't ask it. I've been married to a businessman for a long time, really long time. Hans and I were 18 and 22 when we got together, and yes, he robbed the grave, and yes, I robbed the cradle. Neither one of us had a whole lot of experience in business. We eventually became business partners, built big businesses, millions of dollars, and almost ended up in a divorce over it. Not the way to go. Not the way to go at all. In the beginning of our relationship, I was the one that tore him down with my mouth, and he ignored me. Both of those are emotionally abusive. Then we soon figured out that this wasn't working, and that we kind of needed to change our ways. That's why I love this question. Like, how do I encourage my husband? Well, one of the things that I needed to learn to do and learn to say, even before I fully believed it, was to thank him for all of his hard work, to thank him for his commitment to the family, to thank him for how he loved me and how he loved his children, to thank him for his dealing with everything that doesn't go right every single day, especially taxes, the pressures of dealing with the staff, which are intense, really, really intense. The pressures of solving problems all day long. Get as specific as you possibly can. You see, when your spouse goes off to his office and building his business, or let's say that he is a musician or an engineer or construction work, when you don't take the time as the spouse to learn more about what they deal with on a daily basis, they feel very disconnected from their wives. And so I honestly didn't know how much pressure my husband was under until I found myself in a role that he had spent time in. then I was able to understand things a little bit better. You see, I had only worked 20 hours a week our entire married life. And so working 20 hours a week, of course I don't have the stress that he had. With only working 20 hours a week, of course I didn't have the pressure that he had. With only working 20 hours a week and being totally in control of my time based on the decisions of why I didn't want to work more than 20 hours a week, my children were much more important, me being the mother and the homeschooling parent and the one responsible for the household and food and cooking and all of that kind of stuff, because I thought it was important to train up my kids to know how to do their own laundry, to train them how to cook their own food, to train them how to take care of their own space. I didn't want somebody else doing that for them. I felt it was important for me to set that example for them. So I chose to work 20 hours a week. And why? Because I couldn't handle working more than 20 hours a week outside of the house. And I found myself to be one to judge him all too many times about his stress level. Instead of stepping foot inside of his shoes for a day, 8 hours a day, solving problems nonstop, solving problems with the people that you're working with all day, solving problems with the internet that's changing every day, solving problems with software that you just like you fix something and it breaks 3 things, solving problems with putting away money for taxes and then the government making switches and changes and all of this kind of stuff. And then, of course, the uncovering of the attorneys and the accountants that gave really bad advice. The list goes on and on and on of all of the problems that my poor husband was dealing with every single day. So my answer to you, if you are that wife that asked that question of, hey, I'm married to a businessman, how can I better support my husband? How can I better encourage him? Number one, you realize the importance of encouragement and that it's a wise woman that is building her house with encouragement out of her mouth. But if you really want to go deeper on this, get inside and understand what he's dealing with every single day. That's something I wished I had done a lot sooner. It is so easy to judge and think you have the answers to something from this perched up place where you're not having to deal with the same stuff that someone else is having to deal with. So rather than trying to shut him off and shut him down that he's just talking about business all the time, why don't you try to give a true listening ear and to really hear the things that he's wrestling with and not try to solve it, not try to give him advice, but you being a sounding board for him to be able to just say what he has to say, let him be done saying it, and then thank him. Then thank him that, honey, it's worth it. Look at the legacy that you're building. Begin to cast vision in front of him again of why he even started it and reminding him of what he's really good at and what his great strengths are and that he will find solutions, that you're confident in his ability to find those solutions and how grateful you are for providing for him providing for you. And here's the last way that I will tell you, the greatest way that you can encourage him is by not spending a bunch of foolish money. Show him that you value the hard-earned dollar that he is working for. Show him by what? Show him by declaring war on debt. Show him by what you refuse to spend money on. Show him by the budget that you're willing to keep on the food. Show him by the respect and the honor that you bring to the finances by not being one of those wives that's always blowing cash and is totally irresponsible. Show him the respect and honor by respecting the home. Yes, respecting the home. Respecting the space, letting him come home to a clean place and a hot, beautiful meal that you prepared in a very, very tight budgeted way. Show him by how you keep yourself. Encourage him by how you present yourself to him. Encourage him by your beauty. Encourage him by enticing him back into the den, the marriage bed, the den where love is made and honor and respect is shown. So, if you use any one of those strategies, it's going to help. And your husband will feel on top of the world like there's nothing that he cannot do. And together, you guys will build a legacy filled with wealth. Wealth in relationship, wealth in honor, wealth financially. That's it for us today. Thank you so much for joining us. If this has been helpful for you, please share it with someone else. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon. Are you confident that you're always getting a good deal? Have you been equipped with the negotiation confidence, strategies, tactics, and supporting tools you need to close world-class deals? Finally, JPA is making the exact same specialized negotiation training and secrets used by the world's largest, most successful corporations available to everyone. Proven in more than 60 countries and used by brands like Adidas, Vodafone, Pfizer, Nokia, and others, the JPA negotiation method will set you up to save money and time while significantly increasing your profits. It doesn't matter if you're buying or selling real estate, closing contracts with suppliers, or selling products and services to individuals or organizations. Using their simple step-by-step negotiation preparation checklist, you'll be ready to confidently slug it out toe-to-toe with the toughest professional negotiators. It's time for you to stop leaving money and opportunity on the table. Go to bizneg.com/events to register now. Again, that's bizneg.com/events. Get registered today.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been The Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.